Hi everyone, my name is Grace Delisle. I'm an intern at the Central Vermont Council on Aging. I work with Kim Lipinski, and today I'll be talking with you about blue zones, what they are, what the blue zone lifestyle is, how it promotes longevity, and how you can live it here in Vermont.
Better hurry up, I'm in my 90s already.
I'm right behind you. I'm right behind you.
Me too. Well.
All right, so as I said, hi, my name is Grace, and today we'll be talking to you about blue zones. So for our agenda today, in these next few slides, first we'll talk about what is a blue zone, what's the basic definition. I'm sure some people may have heard of this term before. Then we'll talk about where some of the world's blue zones located. We'll do an overview of the Power 9, which are the 9 characteristics that each of the blue zones share. And we'll specifically be focusing on the nutrition component. Then we'll segue into how to incorporate the Power 9 into your daily life in Vermont, and we'll wrap up with some big takeaways. Next slide, please. So what is a blue zone? A blue zone is a geographic region where the inhabitants consistently live to be over 100 years old, meaning there's a high concentration of centenarians. People in blue zones reach 100 years of age at a 10 times greater rate than in the United States. This designation of blue zones came about through a study conducted by Dan Buettner to discover the secrets to longevity. And this study led to the discovery of 5 locations with higher concentrations of centenarians, which are the 5 blue zones. Again, there are 5 identified blue zones across the world, and some of them are in rural areas where wealth is not abundant. So the idea of blue zones and the lifestyle is that you don't have to have a lot of wealth in order to experience longevity. Longevity is accessible regardless of socioeconomic status. Again, they all share 9 unique lifestyle characteristics that are attributed to the longevity of their people, known as the Power 9. And the reason why studying blue zones is important is because blue zones can offer insights into alternative lifestyles, provide comparison point for our lifestyles, and we can take away lifestyle components to help us maximize our health in the United States. Again, you don't need wealth for health. Of Ikaria, Greece, which is one of the 5 blue zones. Next slide, please. So now we'll look at a map of where are the 5 blue zones. So we have one right here in the United States, actually, in Loma Linda, California. There's one in Nicoya, Costa Rica, Ikaria, Greece, Sardinia, Italy, and Okinawa, Japan. Last summer, I was fortunate enough to go on a travel study through UVM. First, we learned about the blue zones and everything that I'll be presenting to you today. And then we actually traveled to Ikaria, Greece to experience it for ourselves. I gained a lot more insight and a lot more personal experience by being there. So that's what I'll be sharing with you throughout this presentation. And this presentation is also filled with some of the photos that I took whilst on the trip. Next one. So here's some pictures that I took while I was in Ikaria, and you'll see many more throughout the presentation. So now we'll go into the main part of the presentation, the Power 9, and we'll discuss each component and then focus specifically on the nutrition components. So here's a general graphic for you. There's 9 components sorted into 4 different pillars. So we have move naturally, purpose, downshift, the 80% rule, plant slant, why not 5, right tribe, loved ones first, and belong. And then they're sorted into 4 different pillars: move, what does it even say? Right outlook, eat wisely, and connect. Next one. So we'll start off with the first pillar, which is move, contains 1 component, move naturally. Blue zone inhabitants do not intentionally exercise. I love to run, and when I was in Greece one day, I decided I was going to go for a run. As I'm running down the street, everyone is popping their heads out of their house and looking at me like, what is she doing? Is she running from someone? Why would you intentionally run? this idea of exercise in conjunction with diet is not prevalent in blue zones. The way that they move and get their exercise is by moving naturally with their environment. So Ikaria is a very mountainous region. The roads are narrow, they're windy. Not many people own cars. Not many people can afford to own a car. There's one gas station for the entire island. So the main way that people get around is by walking. They also garden very frequently. That's a main way for them to get their daily produce. They grow their own produce, and gardening requires a lot of natural physical movement. And there's not a great reliance on machines such as robotic vacuums for house and yard work. All of those household chores and yard work chores are done by hand. And here's a picture of us gardening. We harvested some fresh vegetables from the garden and made stuffed peppers for lunch one day. This bottom picture is a picture of one of the gorges in Ikaria that we hiked, and that people during the ancient age would actually walk up and down every day to get their water. The next pillar is connect. First we have belong. The majority of centenarians in blue zones belong to a faith-based community, and it's been found that attending service 4 times per month added 4 to 14 years onto their life expectancy. Now, the main idea of this component is just to belong to some sort of group or organization. It doesn't necessarily have to be faith-based, but faith can provide a sense of stability, peace, and meditation. Then we have loved ones first. So family is the center of social life in blue zones. Families take care of parents and grandparents in or near their homes. This is not normalized in American society. It can be difficult in all parts of America to keep parents and grandparents at home because of the high rates of chronic disease and the different levels of care that might require. However, maintaining family bonds and a sense of normalcy for parents and grandparents is beneficial for their mental and emotional health, which adds years on to their life expectancy. And this also reduces mortality rates in elderly members and children of the family. People in blue zones are also committed to their life partner and very invested into loving and raising their children. Then we have right tribe. The idea of this component is to surround yourself with others who live healthy lifestyles and who live the lifestyle that you are looking to live as well. It's been psychologically shown that habits rub off on others in the social circle, so this is another important role of your social network. Here in these photos, this bottom picture is one of the churches that we saw on the trip. This top left picture, we attended a religious celebration where all members of the community came together. You're dancing next to people you don't know, such as this gentleman. I did not know him, and then he pulled us in for a dance. And these were all of my other classmates who attended the trip with me, and we all became very close friends. Yeah, that's me.
You had different hair.
Yeah, it was a little bit longer then, I guess.
Looks like it was lighter, too.
Oh, must have been that Mediterranean sun. But yeah, so this was like my tribe while I was in Ikaria, and I would definitely say we brought out the best in each other. We had a great time. Next slide, please. Then we have the next pillar, which is the right outlook. One of the components of this is downshift. The idea of downshift is to carve out intentional time in your day to unwind and to ground yourself. This can be taking a nap, engaging in prayer, remembrance, or happy hour, whatever it is that helps you relax and feel grounded. The idea of downshift is to offset stress, since stress leads to chronic inflammation, which is not great for your longevity. Then we have purpose. Knowing and discovering and staying in touch with your purpose in life is very important for your mental health. This sounds like a pretty daunting concept since your purpose in life is constantly evolving. But some questions that you can ask yourself in order to think about what your purpose might be is, what in life is important to you? What do you want out of it? Who are the important people in your life? And what role do you play in your community? You may not realize it, but you do serve a purpose in someone else's life as well as in your own. So living with intention is a great way to maintain your mental health and stay grounded. Next one. So now we'll go into the nutrition component, which is the focus of our presentation, and this pillar is to eat wisely. First, we have the 80% rule. The idea of the 80% rule is to eat until you're no longer hungry, but not to eat to the point of indigestion and discomfort. So you're very in tune with your body's signals of hunger and satiation. You want to eat slow and focus on food. This really introduces the concept of intuitive eating, just staying in touch with those hunger and satiation cues instead of worrying as much about food restriction, counting calories, or tracking macros and micros. People in the blue zones don't engage with traditional dieting the way that we do. Instead, they focus on staying mindful while they eat and eating intuitively. One of the other ways that you can do this is by turning off all electronic devices while you're eating. So no eating and looking at your phone or watching TV. Instead, do your best to eat slowly, and if you can, talk with others, eat with others like you did today. Talking slows down the eating process and helps you to chew more slowly. So here's some pictures of the food we ate while we were in Ikaria. We have baked feta with sour cherries, which was insane, so good. And then we have a Greek salad, which is just a big cluster of feta, olives, peppers, onions, tomatoes, and cucumbers. Then this was some breakfast we had. We picked fresh fruit from the garden to have for breakfast every day. And in Greece especially, they love olives, so we had olives at every meal. And then there's a dinner spread. We have some wine, some Greek salad. For some reason, we ate a lot of French fries in Ikaria. I didn't know that was one of their main foods they ate, but apparently it is.
You're growing your own potatoes?
Yes. Yeah,
Wow,
they
that's
are. They are.
challenging.
Which actually brings us to the next slide.
I have a question for you. So,
Yes.
for instance, I don't like feta cheese. So what did they, or does everybody just like feta and I moved down there?
A lot of people do like feta. Goat cheese is also popular. Yeah. This does bring us into the next slide as well, though, and we'll talk more about that. So Plant Slant, they eat a mostly plant-based diet in the blue zones. They rely heavily on beans and potatoes, since these are inexpensive plant-based foods that they can grow in their own yard. So we have fava beans, soybeans, black beans, and lentils, yams, sweet potatoes, nuts, seeds, oats, brown rice, and barley. Another main feature of their nutrition is that their produce is mainly, if not completely locally sourced fruits and vegetables that they've grown in their own backyard. Olive oil and plant-based oils, especially in Greece and in Italy, they are very prominent in the meals. These oils raise good cholesterol and lower bad cholesterol. Animal protein is not as big of a part of the meals. There's usually one small serving of animal protein per day. It's often fish, especially in these more Mediterranean locations. If not, it could be pork, chicken, or lamb. There's very little beef. For example, in Ikaria, the island is so mountainous, there's not proper land for grazing for the cows. So they don't really eat beef at all, and they don't consume cow milk. So yeah, exactly. Right. So cheeses and yogurts made out of cow's milk are not really consumed at all. Instead, it's from lamb or sheep or goat. There's also not really added sugars at all. When I was there, there were no dessert menus at any of the restaurants, which made me very sad. But if they will add sugar, it's because the food is supposed to be sweet. It's supposed to be a treat. But overall, the main message that I took away while I was in Ikaria is to enjoy food. For example, if you don't like asparagus, you don't have to eat it because it's healthy. There's a wide array of other vegetables that you could consume instead. So the idea is to eat the foods that you like if they're healthy, because that will keep encouraging you to eat those plant-based foods. Next slide. Then we have wine at 5. This is the last component of the Power 9 and definitely the most controversial. People in the blue zones engage in regular to moderate drinking of alcohol. They have 1 to 2 glasses of light wine per day. However, the culture is a little bit different. They always drink the wine with food, whether it's lunch or dinner. And the main idea of Wine at 5 is that you're engaging in social interaction and you're having conversation with other people. This is beneficial for your mental health. Wine at 5, happy hour, just serves as a common way for people to gather around. I will say too, a lot of the wine in Ikaria was locally sourced. It wasn't aged for as long, it wasn't as strong, it didn't have preservatives in it. It was a much lighter wine. Again, though, this is all about pairing, and this goes for all the components of the Power 9. So consistently moving naturally throughout the day and having a small dose of wine that was locally sourced together could be beneficial for cardiovascular health. However, oh yeah.
In the long ago, my noni, that would be my Italian grandmother, had a glass like this, and she put this much wine in the rest water. Like
Exactly.
taking the place of drinking water because probably their water wasn't safe, but I don't know that.
Maybe just to water it down a bit. I mean, there is some research that red wine in small doses promotes heart health. However, some other researchers have disproved this. So, at least in Ikaria, they were drinking wine 1 to 2 times per day. Again, though, socialization is what's most healthy about Wine at 5 for you and is the main objective of this component. So here's us having some happy hour. Some of the people on my trip drinking wine, grapes grown right in the backyard, and some snacks we had with our wine.
How many people were with you in your group? How large?
There were 14 of us total.
And were you all from the States? Were you all from Vermont?
Yeah.
Did you know each other before you started?
We were all from UVM, and a couple people did know each other before we started, but traveling across the Atlantic together makes you bond very quickly, so now we're all close, which is really special.
Was this, did you get academic credit for this?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I got 3 credits for 10 days, so almost as if it's a full course. Yeah. So how can you live the Power 9 in Vermont? Because obviously we don't live on an island in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. So I'm just going to go through each of the components and offer some tips and some ways to adapt it to your lifestyle. So moving naturally, if it's possible, there may be medical reasons why you cannot, but if it is possible, instead of driving short distances, try to walk as much of it as you can. If you have a pet, try to take them for a walk every day. Even with household chores, if you can do as much of that hands-on as you can, such as folding laundry, that's also some natural movement you can incorporate into your everyday life. Then we have Connect. Obviously, not everyone wishes to practice a religion. The whole point of belonging to a group is not necessarily the content of that group, it's just that there's a group of people you see regularly that you have that social interaction with. So the objective is community, socialization, and just belonging to a group. You could join a book club, a walking club, or organize weekly times to see a group of friends. Then we have loved ones first. It is common for family members to be dispersed in this country. If you have any family, try to organize a weekly time for as many family members as possible to call or to Zoom. But also, your loved ones do not have to be blood related. So maybe these are your loved ones. You see them often, just make the most of those social interactions. Then we have Right Tribe. So make space to spend time with those who bring out the best in you, and spend time with others who share your values and prioritize a balanced and healthy lifestyle. You can even talk, if there's anyone in your household, you could talk to them about what your goals are for life and for your lifestyle. For Downshift, we all have at least 5 minutes every day that we can just set aside to be silent or to do yoga, to meditate, or whatever it is that allows you to unwind. Purpose. Reflect on your life goals and do whatever is possible to make progress on them, and talk with loved ones about the positive impact you've had on each other, because you may discover another purpose that you've been serving in your community. Next slide. Now for the 80% rule, again, turn off electronics and eat with others whenever possible. You just did that today. and eat in a way that promotes good digestion for your body. So whether that's eating a smaller meal at the end of the day or just not eating right before you go to bed, everyone's different, whatever feels good for you. Then Plant Slant, you may have unique dietary and medical needs that may not make this aspect feasible, especially since in our environment, in our country, produce is very expensive. But growing as much of it as you can might be a cheap alternative, and that encourages some natural movement. So there's a 2-in-1. Again, beans and potatoes are inexpensive because the people in blue zones do not necessarily have a lot of money, which is why they rely on these kinds of staples. Don't stress about eating the right food. Again, there's certain aspects of your environment you can't control. So the whole idea of these components is that you adapt them to the environment that you're in right now. Wine at 5, again, there may be unique dietary and medical reasons why you can't drink wine or any alcohol at all. So you could drink or eat an alternative that is also high in polyphenols. Dark covered fruit, dark chocolate can provide those same health benefits. But again, focus on socialization and unwinding because that's the point of wine at 5. And even better if you compare it with another component such as natural movement. Next slide. So I'm going to leave you with a few big takeaways. 1, enjoy life's little moments and cherish your loved ones. Community and socialization greatly benefit your health. Health is holistic, so you want to take care of not just your physical health, but also your mental and emotional health. A little consistent movement goes a long way. You don't have to go outside and run 10 miles. If you could just walk a little bit each day, that makes a big difference. Eat foods that you enjoy. Chronic stress can have adverse health outcomes, which is why it's important to focus on holistic health. And give yourself some grace. We are all faced with different environmental factors. We don't have all of the same conditions that they have in the Mediterranean Sea. Does anyone own a truck that's blocking? No worries. So again, adapt the Power 9 as best as you can to be possible in your environment. It doesn't matter what your socioeconomic status is. It is supposed to be adaptive to any type of condition. And live with the earth and its resources. Don't exploit it. People in the blue zones, this is why they garden. This is why they move naturally. They're very in touch with the earth and its natural resources. And finally, the blue zone lifestyle is supposed to be a lifestyle, not a diet or chore. So if you're thinking of it as a diet or chore, that is going to stress you out, and that's not good for your health. So adapt it in whatever way works best for you. Next slide. So thank you so much for listening to me today and for coming to the presentation.